Welcome back to Granja Caimito in the Pedroche Valley of Andalusia, Spain. Cows and pigs have contributed to this compost in the making. At night, the pigs sleep here and their little hooves chop up the material further. Very soon we will come with the bucket of the backhoe to pick it up and use it to cover broad bean seeds that we will spread on the berm of the big swale. There it will then decompose further and nourish the beans. The broad beans are for more biomass. We don't intend to harvest them. In everything we do, we try to let the animals do most of the work in order to mimic natural systems. It is an interesting learning process as we figure out what the animals do naturally and where we need to guide, prevent or protect. It also does take time. We are creating a complex system and there are many things we cannot know just yet. You may notice that our pigs are free to root up the soil and don't have several metal rings in their noses. The common recommendation here is that pigs must have these nose rings in order to protect the soil. To some, it may seem stupid not to follow this practice, but to me it is stupid to harm an animal instead of thinking a little bit more about how to design a system that does not require nose rings. With the cows it is no different, and as you can hear, they do communicate as well. Our backhoe did not start, and so the guys loaded the pickup to move some of the straw to where the cows are going to be. They know that this is for them, but they haven't figured out how to get out of the paddock they are in. They have to go backwards, and that, to a cow, is always a challenge. So, in a little while, they will be chased down towards the entrance, so that they can exit, and then they will come along the driveway and go into the paddock where the pickup just went into. And that is what they are watching. So our backhoe is broken for the moment. It's the starter motor that has failed, and we are waiting on the replacement. Will probably show up by tomorrow, and that means right now we are using the pickup to distribute the straw here. And as you have already seen, the cows are very, very vigilant. They want to come there and they have been protesting. And I want to show you this older swale here. In spring this gets a lot of new vegetation, and it shows that some of the exposed soil has already been conquered by some pioneer plants, so to say. Of course, it's the grasses and all that, but stuff is growing here, which is good. And that was dug with our backhoe, so it's not as perfect as the bigger swales, but at least it does exist and it catches some of the rain that flows downhill. And there is also a little pond area at the end where the bottom is clay. And of course here this needs also some love. It's an up and down. And over time we will plant things here. Here in this area it will probably be a bunch of shrubs and maybe some berries and all that, what you would usually find in the forest. So that's the idea here. Now the straw gets distributed, and when that is done, the guys will then close the driveway that goes up to the high part so that the cows can be let in here and they can still go downhill to where the animal water is to have a drink. The cows are following every move. Now that I'm speaking here and I'm walking towards the guys that are distributing the straw, the cows also follow. And as you might be able to see, their eyes are pretty much locked on to the activity. And they figure out, when can we get there? Because they ate all the straw that was provided earlier. And they want to continue to fill their bellies. The guys also just told me that maybe in a few days, 2 or 3 weeks, we will have a new calf. Let's see how that goes. It's one of the cows that gave birth earlier, so this time it should be less dramatic than it was when they all were giving birth the first time. But we are prepared by now in case help is needed, so we don't have to call the vet in an emergency, but can pull out the calves ourselves the proper way. So we have the tool for that, and we also got some instructions how to act. So this time it will then hopefully be smoother. Most of them are pregnant, so we will see. So the clay button of this keeps the water, and this is a little pond area. It's not very deep, as you can see, but at least some of the rain will stay. And the berm is a little bit wider. When I dug this a little while ago, I tried with my very short boom on the backhoe to make it as wide as possible. But it is, yeah, I'm an amateur. I'm not a professional backhoe driver, so I don't know. But at least I tried. The water tank and the solar panels, they will be moved. At least the panels will be moved, because we also now have the pipe all the way up to the highest point of our land, and this is where the water tank will go. This will then help us in summer for the irrigation of the things that we will plant along the slope here. And when the pickup is empty, then they will load up the panels and take them out so that the cows will not damage that.
Ahora las placas primero, ¿no? Esto lo saco yo así. Pero si va ahí, perfecto.
This is the inside of the 3000 liter tank. You can see the float valve and the pump at the bottom.
Despacito, está saliendo el agua.
Ya está, ¿eh? Ahora se ha derramado el agua ahí para la paja, ¿no?
¿Lo suelto?
So here the bottom of the mini swale is full of grass. That is a very positive sign. This is where the cows are now going to be. Let's see what will happen. The water tank is now at its final destination and they are unloading it. The connections will be made later because we are now in December and we don't need an additional water source. It rains enough. So here I am at the Altiplano, the highest point of our land. This is one of the open flat areas that we have here at the top. And as you can see, it is green. And we do have some grass here. Of course, it's not very long because it's a matter of moisture and nutrients, but we are adding those, at least the nutrients. When the cows come here, they will come here in the following days, but not this weekend. Today is Friday. This weekend they are going to be grazing in this area, and the guys are adding more and more straw there. So that is in process together with the relocation of the water tank and a few other things. But this is coming along. It has been like that last year, but I have a feeling this time, now that we are in winter, it is looking better than the last time. The last time during spring we had a lot of growth here. But you can also see the thistles there in the background. Let me walk over there. And they indicate compacted soil. But what we have observed, without the need for ripping or any other mechanical action, those thistles disappear the more we graze. So we may just have to continue grazing and do nothing else. And then that problem will go away all by itself. Because my understanding of thistles is they are nature's way of creating little water channels, which is basically the same thing as we do by ripping. So might just be a matter of time to just use plant grazing and put the cows there where it's most needed. So that is our intent. And in those areas directly below the canopy, things look good. So if I move up with the camera, you see, this is right underneath the canopy. And that is important because, as you have seen in previous videos, we have a lot of water being created by condensation out of the air. So it does not rain, but we have a lot of condensation, and that is what helps these plants, these forage plants, to come along. Now that's an important thing, as we have this almost 20-degree swing in temperature, centigrade, between night and day. So evaporation is one issue in summer, and a positive thing is then condensation in the rest of the year, but also in summer, because when in summer at night it gets a lot cooler than during the day, then there's also condensation, which is why we need enough surfaces so that condensation can actually occur. So this area here will be divided into two temporary large paddocks. It is closed on both sides, so the cows cannot go down there to the left. That is the area which we then call Zone E. So the Altiplano we designated D, while C is the slope to the right. Everything in orderly fashion. The guys are right now going down to help there so that the cows are in the right place, and then they will fill up the area with straw as before. Some might wonder if I can drive around with that pickup on Spanish streets. Well, that's an issue. When I bought it in the Netherlands, and there it had a license plate, and then that license plate got exchanged to a temporary one, and with that I drove 2,500 kilometers from the Netherlands to Spain. And when I came to Spain, I wanted to register it and get a Spanish license plate. But that proved to be very difficult because the Spanish authorities had no idea what this vehicle is. Everywhere else in Europe they do. They just look in the book and know that's a Ford F-150. But in Spain, they told me I had to hire an engineer and basically register it like I had manufactured the vehicle myself. So it never happened, and so I have a pickup for on-farm use only, at least legally. So if I would drive it on public streets, then of course it's a bad thing. So if the police would stop me, then I would certainly be fined, and who knows, maybe my license is also in jeopardy and other bad things. So we just use it on premise instead of on public roads. But it's okay. It still serves a purpose. And while I was waiting to get the issue with the license plate and the register of the car sorted out, yes, of course, we were using it, but that was during that grace period. So no bad thing, but it helped us to relocate a bunch of stuff in the very early days from our temporary apartment to our newly built house back then. But right now it's farm only. But that's okay. I wish in Europe a full-size pickup like in the US were a lot more common. But unfortunately, people don't like them, thinking about the gas consumption, and of course the streets are narrow and it's hard to find a parking spot, especially in downtown areas. It has the size of a truck, of a real truck, of a delivery truck. And Europeans have a different concept about these things. But I'm very, very in favor of that kind of vehicle because it is so versatile. But okay, things are different and we need to adapt. The cows also eat the acorns. So when one likes to run pigs and cows and wants to take advantage of the acorns, it is important to bring in the pigs before the cows so that there are some acorns left for them. And eating acorns for ruminants is not the very best idea, but the doses makes the poison. So acorns contain a substance, I think in English it's also called tannin, and that can be toxic. But of course, if it's only a few acorns, and depending on the variety, it's not a problem. Which is why this is now not a problem, because those oak trees don't have that problem. But other types of oak trees, they have a lot more poisonous tannin inside of the acorns. And then this would be a huge problem. Now the driveway all the way to the top gets blocked so that the cows stay in the lower part. They are free to move around so that they can move between the paddock and the waterer that is at the entrance of our zone C.
Igual 5, 7, 5, 6, 5, 8.
Son todos el mismo.
So the Paulownia trees here in our zone B1 have lost their leaves. The other ones that grew a lot taller than these here have also lost their leaves. So this is just normal. And instead of going in here with a lawnmower or another tool, we just let the horses take care of the excessive pasture that we have here between the trees, and at the same time they spread some manure and provide some fertilizer. It's much better than burning fossil fuel. Nothing against fossil fuel, but this works out much better. So this area looks pretty nice, and it is kind of lush given the season that we are in the cold winter, and the horses will help us to improve it further. It was not hard to convince them to come in here.